everyone, welcome to the show. The days are getting longer, lockdown measures are being eased, and it definitely feels that the barbecue season is getting underway. Now, Elky, how are you? And what's it like being able to go to the pub again?
I'm absolutely fantastic. Like you said, the days are getting sunnier, they're starting to get a little bit warmer, and sunshine makes me a happy man. And the fact that the pubs are starting to open again, normality is starting to return. It was just nice to be able to have a pint outside the shack in a nice social aspect. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely is, Elky. Now, one of your sort of recent posts on Instagram has got a lot of people talking, and that was when you cooked a suckling pig feast. Can you tell us about the cook?
Yeah, so this was the first time that we were able to have friends over. The rule of six reappeared. People can come to the gardens again. So I had a few friends over and I decided to commemorate the occasion with a bit of a feast. So suckling pig cooked over fire we had some curries, we had a load of chicken tikka. It was absolutely fantastic. It was, beautiful. It was just great to have friends over again, to be honest.
It certainly is. Now let's take a look at what's coming up in today's show.
Coming up, our special guest today is recipe creator and BBC Good Food columnist Melissa Thompson. Elky puts a twist on one of Melissa's favourite recipes, ginger beer gammon. We take a look at what you've been up to in What's Cooking. And Neal cooks a couple of chicken dishes and makes his first ever pie on a Kamado Joe.
Our interview with Melissa is coming up later in the show. Now, Elky, after our chat with Melissa, you were really inspired and wanted to cook one of her recipes. What did you go for?
There's so many good ones to choose from, but I'm a big fan of doing gammon on the barbecue. So I went for ginger beer glazed gammon. Let's take a look at the film. In homage to our special guest, Melissa Thompson, I wanted to cook one of her recipes because I keep looking at her recipes and they make me drool. They all look absolutely fantastic. So I've chosen the ginger beer gammon, but I'm going to do my take on it. This is going to be a slight variation of Melissa's ginger beer gammon in the fact that I'm not going to boil it. I'm going to use some of the spices as a rub, then we're going to put it in to the smoker, get some cherry smoke on there, and then I am going to finish it with Melissa's ginger beer glaze. I've got this beautiful joint of gammon here from my butchers, Philip Warren Butchers. Now, if you are buying gammon, if you go to a supermarket, it may be that it's a little bit too salty to start with, and you may need to soak it first. I know that these gammon here from Philip Warren Butchers are absolutely perfect. We don't need to soak them. They've just got just the right amount of saltiness. So we're going to start with a little coat of mustard, just to give our spices something to adhere to. So we're just going to get that just over the fat side of the gammon. I'm going to make a nice simple rub using the spices that Melissa would put in the ginger beer when boiling the gammon. So we've got some nutmeg, and I'm going to go in with about half a teaspoon of nutmeg. Same with allspice, about half a teaspoon, and cinnamon, about half a teaspoon. So in they go, and then we're going to want some pepper as well. We're going to go in with about a teaspoon of pepper. So a really simple rub that's going to put some lovely flavours on there that are going to complement the ginger beer glaze absolutely perfectly. So we're just going to mix this with our finger, and that's it. We're just going to sprinkle this onto the gammon. So that's all the prep we're going to do with this gammon. We've got that rub on there, those beautiful flavours. This is going in the Kamado Joe Classic 3 at 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to take this off when it hits 63, but before that I'm going to make the lovely ginger beer glaze, and we're going to start pouring that over it once it's about half an hour away from being ready, so we can get the chance for that glaze to set. So into the smoker we go. Right, so the dot is telling me it's at 60 degrees, so I'm now going to crack on and make the ginger beer glaze. So got a pan on a heat here, just put a can of ginger beer in, then we're going to add in some aromats. So we've got some ginger, just to oomph that flavour up a little bit more. So we're just going to thinly slice some of that. Doesn't matter about the peel because we're going to strain this anyway. So we're just going to go in with a few slices of ginger. And garlic, I've got a couple of cloves here, so we're just going to smash these, give them a quick peel, a quick slice, and again, in they go. Remember, we are going to strain this, so you don't have to get too fine. Some thyme, got 4 or 5 sprigs of thyme. They're going to go in there and add to the flavour. Peppercorns, we're going to stick some of these in there as well. We're going to go in with about a couple of teaspoons of peppercorns. So in they go. Pinch of nutmeg. And we've got some allspice berries here. You'll find allspice is used for things like jerk chicken and stuff. Adds a really kind of nice earthy flavour. So we're going to go in with about 10 of these. And we're going to pop a cinnamon stick in there as well. And we're just going to simmer it and just let these flavours infuse that ginger beer for about 10-15 minutes. Let all those flavours seep in, and then we're going to strain it. We're going to add some treacle, and we're going to bring it up to a boil, get it thickened and glaze it all over that gammon. So can't wait for this. So there we go, ginger beer glazed ham, inspired by Melissa Thompson, the guest on the show, Fowl Mouths Food. It looks great. We've put the glaze on at 60 degrees, it's set nicely. I've taken this off at around about 64, 65 degrees, and it's risen to about 66, 67 while resting. It's now rested, it's the moment of truth. Let's slice in and have a taste. That's incredible, really rich, sticky glaze, really strong flavours of that ginger beer, the ginger, all the aromats that we put in there. That is an absolute winner. So there you go, my version of Melissa Thompson's ginger beer glazed ham.
Another cracking cook, Elky. That glaze looked absolutely delicious.
Cheers, Neil. Yeah, an absolute winner of a recipe from Melissa. The glaze was great. A little confession to make, I probably did over-reduce it slightly, but that just made it stickier, more concentrated in flavour, and the ginger beer flavours really complement that gammon well. Yeah, I was really impressed.
It just looked absolutely delicious. Now, we've got some exciting news. Elky and I will be producing 2 From the Shack shows each month for the next few months. Elky, that's going to be great fun.
It is, yes, and it's good to come back with a little bit more regular shows. I mean, we've been doing them monthly, but it's nice to come back. 2 shows every month. They're going to include all the features that you've grown to know and love, including what's cooking. So let's take a look at that one now.
Elky, a great selection of cooks there, but which was your favourite?
It's an even bigger selection now, so it's an even tougher choice. but I'm going to go with the granite smoke for his Prosecco and bacon mussels, just because I love mussels on the barbecue. They're really good to cook on the barbecue, and it looks like he's done a great job. Now, I did some mussels on the barbecue the other weekend, and my son Joe, 18 months old, came over. I've got Thai flavours all over them. Came over, just grabbed the shell and just tucked into one of them. He ended up eating 3 mussels with Thai flavours all over him. It was really good to see. Now, guys, we like to include your cooks on all of our shows, so if you can continue sending them in using the hashtag From The Shack rather than Barbecue Shack TV, we will do our best to feature all of your cooks. Now, Neal, talking to cooks, let's take a look at what you've been cooking.
It's great to be outdoors, and I'm loving the longer days.
We've just started to plant seeds in the veg patch, and the seedlings that we've grown indoors are desperate to be in the soil, but we still have the potential of frosts, so we're holding back a little bit. A lot of what we grow this summer will go straight on the barbecue.
Today in Outdoor Living, I'm going to do 2 cooks. A tasty Middle Eastern inspired kebab, and a real first for me, I'm going to do a chicken, gammon and leek pie on my Kamado Joe Classic 2.
Starting with the kebabs, you'll need 1 onion, 4 cloves of garlic, 60 millilitres of lemon juice, 1 tablespoon of fresh thyme, 1 tablespoon of paprika, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, black pepper, 240 grams of natural yogurt and around 450 grams of skinless chicken thighs. In a food processor, blend the onion, garlic, lemon juice, thyme, paprika, cayenne pepper and black pepper. Next, add the mixture to the yogurt and give it a good stir. Add the chicken to the mixture and refrigerate for a few hours. When you want to cook the kebabs, thread the chicken onto the skewers and cook over direct heat until the chicken reaches an internal temperature of 75 degrees C. This is easy to do with a Thermopen probe. I serve the kebabs with flatbreads, couscous and additional yogurt. These are absolutely delicious and are always pretty popular.
Now it's time for my chicken, gammon and leek pie. Now I've never made a pie of any description before, but I'm certainly up for the challenge. Before I start prepping for the cook, I'm going to get the barbecue lit.
For the ingredients you will need are 350 grams of cooked gammon. I'm using leftovers from a recent roast dinner. You'll need 4 large skinless chicken breasts cut into cubes. The other ingredients are 1 onion sliced, 150 millilitres of double cream, 2 leeks chopped, 1.5 tablespoons of corn flour, 2 tablespoons of thyme leaves and 60 grams of unsalted butter.
Now I've made a bit of a mistake. I've bought pre-rolled puff pastry instead of buying a block. Now that's a slight problem because my pie is going to be round in shape and the pastry is rectangular, so it's going to need a bit of sorting out and rolling before it can go on the pie.
Finally, you'll need 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 300 millilitres of chicken stock, salt and pepper, 1 egg, and the all-important ingredient to this recipe, 1 tablespoon of whole grain mustard. Once the barbecue is up to around 200 degrees C, you're ready to go. You'll need to set up for both direct and indirect grilling. You'll need to cook the chicken first before it goes into the pie. Place the thighs over the direct heat for a few minutes before moving them to the indirect heat. Keep the lid closed for as long as possible and cook until they reach an internal temperature of 75 degrees C, then remove and put to one side.
Now I've removed the heat deflector and the grate, and I've replaced them with the Kamado Joe accessory rack and a cast iron pot.
Heat the butter and olive oil in the pot and add the onion and leeks and cook for around 5 minutes until soft.
Add the chicken, gammon and chicken stock and a third of the double cream and give it a good stir.
Add the thyme, remainder of the double cream and the salt and pepper. Take the mixture off the heat and add the whole grain mustard.
As I'm going to cook the pie on the KJ, I needed to spoon the mixture into a cast iron frying pan.
This is the point where I recruited my son Louis to help out with applying the puff pastry, crimping the edges, adding the pastry leaves and giving the pie a brush with the beaten egg yolk.
I set the temperature of the KJ to 190 degrees C. Then I placed the pie on the grate, closed the lid and cooked the pie for 30 minutes until the pastry was nice and crisp. We served the pie with mash, beans, carrots and peas. It was delicious and I'll definitely make a pie again. If you're looking at upgrading your barbecue this summer, why don't you get in touch with Barbecue Barn? They'll be able to give you some great advice based on what you want to achieve. Now, Elky, I have to say making that pie was a lot of fun. Have you ever made pies on the barbecue?
Your pie looked great, so fair play, mate. I've made 1 or 2 pies, yeah. I've done one with leftover brisket. I think the most popular one was a Balti pie that I made that was just packed with chicken curry, proper winner.
I'm aiming to make lots of pies on the barbecue throughout the summer, I think. Now, Elky, would you like to introduce our special guest?
Yeah, so our special guest is a columnist for BBC Good Food and Guardian newspaper. She's got her own website, Fowl Mouths Food, and best of all, she absolutely loves barbecue. It's Melissa Thompson.
Melissa, welcome to the show. Am I right in thinking that your food journey began when your sister-in-law inspired you to start a supper club?
Yeah, so my sister-in-law is Japanese, and she introduced me to karaage chicken, Japanese fried chicken, and she'd never really cooked for us before. And then all of a sudden, she presented this like plate of just incredible chicken, and it kind of opened my eyes to this whole other side of Japanese cooking, kind of like the more comfort side of food. And I'm all about comfort food; I love it. And then I started making it for my friends all the time, and then it just got to the point. I was a journalist, and I wasn't so happy in my journalism job, so I, on a whim, kind of went on this course about how to start a supper club. Went on the course, and then it's like one of those moments where you're really scared about doing something, but you almost just make yourself do it and then deal with the consequences afterwards. Do you know what I mean? And so then I did it, and then we had like a friends and family supper club, and it was in our house. So my partner would help in the kitchen, my mate would be kind of like front of house, and we'd push all our furniture to the back, get these fold-up tables, and we had at most 16 people in our house, like strangers coming to eat the food. It was awesome.
I know you like to travel and sample barbecue from around the world. What would you say is some of your favourite countries to visit?
I'm half Jamaican, so going there for like some jerk chicken, that's just been like that was just like amazing. Where else? I mean, there's loads of other places I want to go. I lived in Hong Kong as a kid. Don't really remember it that much, but then we went back. But when I was really small, we went to sort of like did quite a lot of travelling around Southeast Asia. From Hong Kong, and I'd love to go back there and do a bit more of that.
Obviously, barbecue here in the UK is a lot different to the rest of the world. I feel like we're starting to diversify a lot more. But is there any techniques or any barbecue or cuisines that you'd like to see from kind of other countries implemented here in the UK?
I think some cuisines, like we're talking about sort of Southeast Asian cuisine, like, you know, with Thai food. And I think in the last, 10 years in England, I think Thai food's really gone into like the kind of the hyper regionalisation of Thai food. And we've seen that with different cuisines. And I'd like to see that like more with food from like different African countries, rather than Africa being seen as this like homogenous mass, actually celebrating the food and the kind of, especially the fire cooking there. And the same with like jerk. I think jerk in this country, I don't know whether it's had to be kind of toned down a bit, I don't know, and almost like polished, but I think there are some people doing amazing jerk, but again, it's kind of almost serving, like it's quite niche, and I'd like to see that kind of celebrated more, like being really true to itself on a much bigger platform. Like I'd love to see that, and definitely West African. But I want to see more West African barbecue.
You can't beat the classic, the original kind of version of a recipe, and even now, like when I travel to Thailand now. You go there and the curries are supposed to be spicy, they're fresh, but because they kind of focus on the Western market now, you go there and these curries that are supposed to be really spicy and burn your mouth off are just toned down, and that, you know, they're just really creamy, and you have to ask for it to be spicy.
That is really sad. So in Thailand, because they're sort of because they're catering for kind of the Western palate, they're toning everything down. What a shame.
Yeah, I mean, the street food's still the same, but if you're kind of in any popular kind of place that Western tourists go, then they tone it right down, which is a shame. Yeah.
Wow.
Melissa, Fowl Mouths is your food and recipe web-based project. It's absolutely brilliant. I love the recipes on there, especially your barbecue rolled lamb with wild garlic. Can you tell us about it?
Thank you for saying that. So basically, I went to Mugliano in Italy a couple of years ago, and my uncle is my auntie's husband is a chef, and like the food there was so good. Like honestly, like you would both love it. And like this big truck rolls into town, like in this tiny village, like 2 days a week. And it's got everything. It's got like the little fried cubes of custard, and you got frito misto and all this sort of stuff. And then the main thing is the porchetta. And my auntie and my uncle had brought me some porchetta back from Mugliano like years and years ago. But they've made like we've got to see it being served, and then we went to where they actually make it. So they use like proper, like really nice free range, like, you know, an outdoor roaming, like proper pigs, right? And like we saw like where they prepare it and where they cook it and everything. I was just talking to the people about it, and I was obsessed. I've never had porchetta as good as I've had it there. And then I started thinking about doing something similar with lamb. And obviously you get lamb breast, like rolled lamb breast, but I've got a lot of time for lamb neck as well. I think lamb neck is a really nice cut, and it's still quite reasonably priced. And and I love wild garlic, and so I just experimented and talking to I'm in, like, we've got the butchery who do like whole carcass butchery in Forest Hill near me, and so they're amazing. That you can have a proper chat with them, which is the importance, right, of knowing your butchers and being able to actually have a conversation with them, because they can help you, and their knowledge is just second to none. And so we decided on lamb breast, and then with, rather than the loin, like as you would use with a porchetta, having the lamb neck running through. And just cooking it kind of just like, so I didn't leave it that pink. I sort of cooked it so it was just cooked like all the way through, and you just get that, like the flavor was amazing. And obviously you're getting like that kind of like crispy lamb skin, like crispy lamb fat on the outside, and then, I mean, there's nothing better than lamb fat, right? It's just a dream.
I saw that on your page, and honestly, my mouth was watering. I've got to try it. It looks so good. Another one I see on your page recently is you did, and I'm a big fan of ham, doing ham on the barbecue, but you did one with ginger beer. Where did you get the idea for that?
So again, so when I did my pop-up doing the Japanese comfort food, one of my dishes is based on a Japanese dish called buta no kokuni, and which is like a braised pork belly dish. But then I kind of changed it because I like braised pork belly, but again, I like to get a bit of like crisp into the skin, so I'd sort of braise it, but then try and crisp it up a little bit. And I used to put loads and loads of ginger in, and then also some mirin into the kind of cooking liquor. And then I started using ginger beer, like old Jamaica ginger beer, which is really sweet. I think it's actually listed as one of the most unhealthy soft drinks, right? Because it's got so much sugar in it. But it's like a cook's dream, that. And so then, like, you got lots of cola hams and stuff like that. So a few years ago, for the first time, I tried doing it in ginger beer, and it's just really nice. And ginger's quite a Christmassy like flavor anyway. And then I started working with Weber in December, and so that was one of the things I did for them, because I've got a Weber smoke fire, which I really like. I've never had a pellet grill before, and just the capabilities of that is so nice. Like kind of hot smoking salmon, which I do all the time, but then also being able to do something with a ham. So yeah, really good.
Just touching on the Grill Squad, the Weber thing. Tell us a bit more about that and how that came about.
So I mean, it just came out. Like I did a few things with them, I think maybe last year or the year before. So they sent me a master touch, and then that was a couple of years ago actually. I think we did like something with beer can chicken. Sorry, and in fact, my beer can, I think I used ginger beer in that instead of beer as well. And then we did like the smoke fire promotion, and got involved with that. And then this year they've launched this kind of Grill Squad to help promote barbecues. And I think because of lockdown, a lot of people have got into kind of like cooking outdoors, and it's just to try to kind of show what can be done. And it's been a massive privilege for me, because it's just something, like I didn't ever think that was going to happen. But I mean, to get paid to barbecue and to come up with recipes it's just the dream.
Melissa, one thing that's very close to your heart, and that is pushing the hospitality industry into being more inclusive and more diverse. Are you seeing positive changes?
I'm definitely seeing sort of movements in the right direction, and I think I think like what's happened in the last 12 months is come at the back of centuries of kind of oppression and voices being kind of shut down, and so actually so that's going to take a lot of time to fix, and a lot of effort. I'm definitely seeing a bit more like a bit more sort of steps, but I'd like to see more. I mean, in the world of barbecue, there aren't that many sort of like black barbecue folk in the UK, and I'd love to see more. And I think like it's like barbecue is like a shared common language, right, between all of us, because all of our ancestors would have started out cooking over fire, and I think I'd like to see sort of more space for everyone, and I'm sure there are lots of people, but it's just a case of trying to like access them and find them and celebrate them. And there are some people that I go to eat their food. Like there's this Maureen and Verner's near Brixton, and they do like the best jerk chicken. And I only came across them because I walked past. They serve it from Maureen's house, right? And they've got this massive yard in the back with all these like sort of steel drums. And I was like, they're drum barbecues. And I was walking past one day, and I could smell stuff, and someone was there. And I'd walked past it twice. The first time, no one was there. So this time, I was like, "Oh, hi, excuse me. Like, who are you cooking for?" And she was like, "For here." She was like, "Come in." And you go into her house, and like the kitchen's been kind of converted, and so there's like a little kind of trestle table, and then in the kitchen they've got these massive like gastros of like jerk chicken and oxtail and curry goat and like rice and peas and stuff, and it's like £6 and you just get the like a plate of the best food you're ever going to get. And like, you know, and they don't like, they were really busy, but they don't advertise because it's like all word of mouth. But it kind of, it's, you know, I don't know whether, well, I've spoken to Maureen and she would be happy for more people to find her, but obviously you don't want to force kind of like added pressure onto people. But I just want to sort of shout at that from the rooftops, like, this is amazing food and it's right here.
They are the best food experiences, aren't they? The little known places that where they just get the flavour in there and the authenticity is just incredible.
Yes. Yeah, and you've got no idea it's going to be that good. And because you almost, I think, especially now with social media, you sort of think, hang on, if I haven't heard of you, maybe that's because you're not very good. Do you know what I mean? Because as soon as something as soon as something is good, everyone jumps aboard the hype train and you just hear about it all the time. But then actually there is, like, I think that's quite reassuring in these times to know that there are still some hidden surprises out there, some hidden gems.
You recently did a feature, I think it was last year, called Game Changers, and you featured a mate of mine, Adam Pennell, Shropshire lad.
Yes.
He was doing a movement or a campaign for the FOBO, Food of Black Origin, and that gained quite a lot of traction. So I think Adam's planning on doing something again this year. I mean, what is it that you like about Adam?
I just like his passion. I like his passion, and I like the fact that he comes up with interesting things, interesting combinations, and I like what I really like about people, like sort of certain people in food, like when you kind of get taken on a bit of a journey with them, and I quite like that. And I know sort of the whole like journey work can be a bit naff, but like it's kind of like you feel a bit more invested. And I think with Adam, like him kind of like sometimes experimenting with different things, I just love that. And I think that's something about the barbecue world, which is like it's quite. I think in food in the age of social media, like some people get into it almost because it's a means to an end, like they want to get invites to stuff or they want to get sent free stuff. But then I think with barbecue, and I mean maybe I'm a bit naive, but I feel like it's a bit kind of like no one's going to kind of spend hours tending like a brisket or, you know, just like stinking of smoke for like most of the time unless they actually care about it and unless they want to be in it. And so it's like it's almost like a bit of a purity aspect to it, and that's why I like about it. And I've got a lot of time for Adam. He's a good guy, and he's funny as well. He's a good lad.
Oh, he is. Yeah, he's class. He did the I seem to recall he did the soft shell crab Benedict with like a chili lime and lime hollandaise sauce. It's unreal. He looked unreal. Yeah, I've got a lot of time for him. He's a good lad.
Melissa, you create lots of recipes for brands and for publications. Can you tell us the process from start to finish? How does it work? How long does it take?
You get given different briefs, right? So sometimes if it's a brand, then obviously they will have a specific product. And I really like that part of it. I love coming up with recipes and trying to make something kind of, you know, like I don't want to come up with something that's different and original for the sake of it. Like I'm not about kind of, oh, this is something that you've never heard of before. And like, you know, because sometimes I think actually that's not the best way to go about it. And some things can be original to the point, not to the detriment of taste. Like, you know, the reason someone hasn't done that before is actually because it's not that great. So I kind of will think about different, like if it's a product, you know, like I work with Grana Padano, like the sort of Italian hard cheese. And I love that, like, because yeah, they'll come to me and they'll be like, think of some, like a spring recipe. So I'm going to be doing something with them. And then I'm a columnist for BBC Good Food, and I do recipes for them. So like every other month I do five recipes for them, and that's kind of just seasonal really. So it's quite a big remit, and as long as it's seasonal. And so I'll just kind of have a little think and then experiment. So I'll go shopping, and I always get my meat from, you know, sort of from, unless it's sort of I'm working with a supermarket, I'll go to my local butcher, and then I've got really good shops around me, get some different things. A notebook, like, because at the beginning I was just kind of like going for it and then completely forgetting what I'd put into the recipe, and so I came unstuck a few times. So writing it down and then making sure that, you know, if I add like another, because I think if you're just cooking, right, and it's like, you know, sort of down with your recipes, like you're just adding stuff and a bit more, and you sort of say 2 tablespoons, but actually it ends up probably being closer to 3. And so actually when you're doing it, you know, like being able to write it down all the time. So that's the most critical thing, is to be able to record it. And pen and paper is the best, because with a phone, I think, you know, like so much else is happening with your phone, then it's just better to write it down. And then I'll just make it and then tweak it, and then I might have to make it again to perfect it. And that's it really. And then I'll take photos. I try to get all my cooking done in the morning, just so that I can make sort of take advantage of the natural light, and also just to kind of get it out of the way, and then I'll probably sort of write stuff in the afternoon instead.
And then you can graze on it for the rest of the day once you make it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I've started getting into the habit now I'll text my neighbours and I'll say I'm making this, because then I have to give it to them rather than just me sitting there eating it all myself.
That's a good idea. But you make food. I mean, you touched on the fact that, you know, some recipes, some people can get a bit too much chefy and then maybe add bits in that don't need to be added. Whereas you make food that I want to eat. You know, it just jumps out the page, and it just screams. A lot of it just screams comfort, and it, you know, hats off to you, because I want to eat all your food.
Well, the feeling's mutual. Trust me.
Melissa, you touched on it just now about taking photographs. Your Instagram account's got over 50,000 followers. It's absolutely brilliant. The photography is great. Can you give us a few tips on taking good pictures?
So natural light is your friend, and but not too direct light. So you don't want it really sort of redirect, and like the object wants to be here, the light wants to be going here, and then you want to be photographing it from the same angle, or maybe from the top, and you only really want one source of light. And I think this is like one of my friends, Patricia Niven, is a photographer, and she did this video about how to take good photos. And so I think I might be subconsciously borrowing some of her tips, and just making sure your lens is clean, and also making sure that your photo is on the best settings.
You've got a lot of great recipes. What would you say is your kind of ultimate barbecue meal to do on the barbecue?
Oh God, I was going to say I love lamb. I do love lamb, and I think lamb for me is best on a barbecue. I think because you have, you know, like the fat and the juices like dripping down and sending that smoke back up, and I love that. And again, like barbecue, like lamb fat, kind of it's just so good. But then also, I think like because chicken, I think for me is such a chicken's so ubiquitous, we almost forget about chicken. But then I think chicken done well on a barbecue, like, you know, smoked chicken or just chicken done on the rotisserie is just like next level. And there's also pork as well. I'll probably go for lamb with so like maybe kind of like, you know, like lamb chops, or like, you know, a bit of lamb, like a lamb neck, although it hasn't got so much fat on it. And then like with cumin, lemon and garlic, I think is just like the holy trinity for lamb. And then probably some like veg to make like some sort of salsa to go with it. So like onions, garlic, tomatillos if they're kind of in season, and a couple of chilies, and just kind of get them all nice and blackened, and then sort of pound them up and have that on the side.
What time do you want us?
Yeah, anytime you want. Come around for lunch.
Brilliant.
Melissa, thank you for being a brilliant guest on the show. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I feel like I've made it now that I'm here. Like, yeah, so thank you.
The feeling's mutual. We've made it now. We've got you on the show.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Melissa.
Big love.
Elky, what an inspiration Melissa is.
Oh, she really is, yes. And I was absolutely flattered in the fact that she decided to have a go at my chicken shawarma recipe. And it's safe to say she absolutely nailed it.
It looked absolutely delicious. Well, that's about it for this show. Thank you ever so much for watching. A special thank you to our programme sponsor, Kamado Joe, and our feature sponsors, Thermapen, Philip Warren Butchers, and Barbecue Barn. We'll see you next month.
Yeah, and a huge thanks from me, guys. Keep those fires burning, and we'll see you again soon.